Hello and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, the podcast that takes a topic each week and, as the name suggests, cast views. This week is one of my favourite types of episodes. It's Who's Coming to Dinner, and I've got a new guest this week, so I'm always excited when you get to hear a new voice. I am talking to Honor Lewis from the Honor's Diary YouTube channel. So, hi Honor, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. We have been talking for quite a while on this, and while we were talking, I know you've done an episode with a good friend of mine, Satsu from Chat Tsunami, and had a look at your channel. I want to talk about your channel because it's quite a personal channel, isn't it? It's a lifestyle, the way I call it, like slice of life. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel, how you got started.
So, I've been running or making videos on my channel for about a year and a half now, but technically I started YouTube in 2013. So, I was a 12, 13-year-old child at this time, and I was watching YouTube videos, so you'd have all like the tags that everyone did and just the sort of content back then, which has massively evolved. So, I would just make content for the fun of it, but funnily enough, I was not allowed to make YouTube videos because I was too young. So, every Sunday, when my mum was at work and my dad was downstairs just doing his own thing, I would secretly make videos just for the fun of it. And I was doing that for years. But I get to how I am today, and I thought I'm going to make a new channel, take it more seriously, and just make content that really inspires me, uplifts others, and also just brings a bit of a cozy vibe, as that's what I basically live my life on coziness. So I thought I'm going to bring that to YouTube. So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing now. I create vlogs. I do a bit of everything really. I like to showcase my lifestyle as I'm very much countryside based, and I thought it would be an interesting avenue to show on YouTube, as it's sort of a little bit what my book is about, as it's really all about focusing on the positivity and looking at the best parts of your life, and I like to try and emphasize that on my channel.
So that's a very interesting backstory, actually. So you've been technically doing this for 10 years. So a couple of the things I was going to point out when, I've seen a number of your videos and you've said it yourself there. What I found about them is they're kind of incredibly relaxing when you watch it. And like you said, I think that the terms you said, like cozy and the countryside viewing, is you said obviously that is a particular aim. That's what you were trying to achieve with the channel, right? So were you a bit wary at first? Well, you said you've been doing it since you're 13, but about putting yourself out there like that, because it's an incredibly personal channel in that respect.
Yes. Um, I think I just wanted to be authentic. I find videos these days are very heavily manufactured, and I think I like to bring that bit of nostalgia back to YouTube, because back in the day it was just creators just sitting in their bedroom just talking to their camera. And now you have channels that, they have a whole studio and there's loads of like production behind it. And actually, I know a lot of people just like to watch creators and just see their life. And yes, even though there are aspects of my videos which I say are a bit more creative, and I like to try and be clever with my editing and just make it a very relaxing vibe. So I do have like jazz music or something in the background just to make it a nice atmosphere. But I want to make sure that at the core, it's very personal to me and just showcasing my life. Hence why it's Honor's Diary. It is basically my diary. And funnily enough, I was chatting to my boyfriend the other day about this, as I was looking back at my old videos and I love them because when I do vlogs, it is just looking back at a video diary of myself. And it's just such a nice thing to have for myself and also to share to other people.
It's an interesting thing you say there because you get to my age and I think to myself, you see these people that have had the forethought to chronicle their life, these picture every day or picture every week, and I'm thinking, I barely remember what I did last week. And so I would love to have known what I did or what I looked like sort of 20 years ago. So the question is, and as you said, it is very much you. There was a phrase somebody said, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying, oh, in years to come, everybody's going to have their own TV channel. And as you said, YouTube absolutely gives that. But as you said, it's not a persona on your channel, it's you. So have you ever re-recorded video because you're worried it's too personal, or are you just happy to put yourself out there as you are? And is that the point of your channel ultimately, I guess?
So I do have a little barrier in terms of what I do share. Like, if I have like a mental crisis, I'm not going to share that. But I do talk about it. So if I have had a bad week, I will just mention it. So again, it's just real because what I don't want people to see, especially with it being Honor's diary, for them thinking that my life is absolutely perfect every single moment. I mean, I remember when I was sharing the struggles of working and also talking about the low points of being unemployed and how it affected my head mentally. And I remember someone coming up to me and saying they were really glad I shared that because they were in a similar situation. So it just meant they weren't feeling alone in that. And it was quite nice to hear that feedback because I was just thinking, okay, so maybe my channel does touch people's lives and just makes them feel like, okay, yes, I'm an ordinary person and I'm not like a YouTuber that has a mansion and has like all these cars and has loads of money, but like it's just real, like me. So yeah, I do think it is nice for me to be able to share that because I can make connections with others that may be in a similar situation to how my life is at that time when I film it.
And yeah, life's all about those shared experiences and relatable experiences, isn't it? And as you said, sometimes hearing somebody talk about something that you've been through or you're experiencing could mean a lot, can't it? It's as you said, it's yeah, thank God it's not just me. It's an interesting subject because, as I said, I've done this podcast now for well, it's over 3 years now. It's very little of me. It's subjects. I was thinking that when I was watching your channel, and there's no video of me. I don't put video out. I don't think I'm very videogenic. I was thinking, could I do what you've done? And I was thinking, I don't think me now at this point I could. So yeah, I think it's fantastic these people like yourself who do put their lives out there. And it's interesting because you got various subjects because you've done some shopping hauls as well, haven't you? And
Mm.
I think again I was watching that, I was thinking it's just so down to earth and relatable, like you said, because and it's fascinating to see what's interesting you and what you come back with. So are they things that you set out to do?
So for me, I like to think about what I do when I'm on FaceTime with my friends. So, if I've gone shopping, I'll like call them and be like, oh yeah, I got this. This is quite cool. Or if I'm in a shop and I'm like, do I get that? Do I not get that? I'll call someone and be like, what do you think? And I think that again, it's just like that's the whole part of in a way, girlhood. We like to do that kind of thing. But yeah, I want people to look at my channel and think, oh yeah, it's like watching a friend, like being on FaceTime with someone and just having a nice catch up and just seeing what I've been up to. And yeah, I think classing is having a catch up with an old friend. That's the vibe. I think I'd like to describe it.
Yeah, it's definitely that. It's definitely that. So, as well as your YouTube channel, you've also written a book, haven't you? So it's called
Yep.
How to Romanticize Your Life: The Ultimate Guide to Living Your Desired Reality. So, talk a little bit about that.
So, this is a book that I started thinking about during COVID because we're all, in a time locked up at home. And for that time, it was interesting in my life because it was a time I didn't have to work. We all had this free time, or a lot of people had free time. So I had to do things to try enjoy myself. And it was through that period of my life I was thinking there's a lot to life here than just working, your big goals and just achieving, getting married, having children, getting the big house, your dream career, lots of money. Those are the big goals that people try to attain. But actually, I find what matters most in your life for you to live your desired reality is how you live each day to day moment in it. So, yeah, if you got your dream job, that's great. And maybe that initial achievement feels amazing. But then the rest of your life, or the rest of the time you have that job, is you living your day to day life while having that job. So, in my book, I like to talk about little things that you can do just to make that life feel better and just more magical, as I like to word in my book, by just bringing little simple pleasures into your day to day life. So you can wake up and be like, oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to drinking my tea in my favorite glass, or going for a walk and being fully present and mindful of everything that's around you, and just really absorbing life for how it is and making it the best it can be in every day to day. Yeah, it's something that I've very much taught myself, and I thought very people are very determined to get the really big things when actually maybe we should take a step back and realize that the day-to-day life is what matters most, because you could have your dream life, you could have everything, but you could still be sad. So just doing things that makes you happy in the moment will be very more fulfilling, I'd say.
Again, really important. Past few months have been quite full on and difficult for a number of reasons. And you realize one or two things, kind of like how fast time flies. And I know
Hmm.
that's a cliche, but it really does gallop by when you're not focusing. And two, as you said, you work for the big things, you aim for the big things, but it's sometimes it's those smaller things that you've probably forgotten how to enjoy or what brings you that joy. And those are the things that you can get your everyday happiness, I get. And we probably are programmed to forget about those or look past those. Had you ever had a book in you before, or was this something totally new to you?
So weirdly enough, when I was a child, and I'd say okay, when I say that, probably like 8, 9, 10ish, I can't remember the age. I would write little stories and stuff, and I always thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna write a book, but I thought it'd be fiction, not like self-help. But it was funny because during when I was doing university, it was my final year, so I was doing the full-on 10,000 word dissertation. I was just thinking, I absolutely love this. I love writing, and I thought, why don't I write a book as well? Completely unrelated to my dissertation, but I just thought I love writing, so I'm just gonna just say, go ahead, just do it and just see what happens. It doesn't have to get published, it doesn't have to go out anywhere unless I like it, which I did in the end. So I did decide to publish it and get it all out there to the world.
So I want to say congratulations first, because had a couple of people on here now who have published a book. And yeah, I'm in awe of that, because I remember similar story sort of when I was younger, thinking, yeah, I'm going to write a book. I love reading. I love writing. I can write a book. And I remember sitting at the typewriter or the word processor back then, and you just get blank. And my attempt at authoring a book was very short lived. So people that can actually do it and see it through, I think it's amazing. Was it a difficult process?
Yes and no. I think it's difficult because, like you said, there's moments where you sit there and you're like, I don't know what to write. Especially for me, it's like I can't just make something up like a character and decide, oh, yeah, this character's going to do that. Like, this was based on life experiences for me and things that felt in tune to what I believed. And it was really fascinating as I was writing this book because I'll get to a point where I'm like, I don't know what else to write. I'm a bit stuck here, so I just thought I'm just gonna put it down, just in a way forget about it, and then just experience life. And weirdly enough, every single time that happened, a scenario happened in my life where it was so fitting for this book. So for one chapter, again, I was stumped. I had no idea what to write about. It was about forgiveness and the importance of that for your past and for everything that's happened to you. And I wasn't too sure what to write. I knew I wanted to write about it, but I wasn't 100% sure. Like, I just thought, okay, I need to sit and just wait and just see what happens. And weirdly enough, someone in my past actually came back and reached out to me because they wanted to talk about, they did some, maybe not some nice bits, but we talked about it and they apologized and we kind of worked through it. And I just thought, this is perfect for my book. I can make this work. And it made sense because we moved forward and it worked out really nicely because I wasn't feeling so burdened by it. Because, sometimes we cling on to little things that have hurt us, and forgiveness doesn't mean it's okay for it to happen, but it's just forgiving yourself for reacting the way you did, or forgiving yourself for feeling hurt by it, but just like moving forward and being like, okay, I'm going to just acknowledge that this has happened and I've learned the lessons that I've needed to and move forward from it.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it, how sometimes what can be seen by people as a really small thing or trivial thing can build up, can't it, and become quite a source of contention and frustration, right?
Definitely. I 100% agree with that. It's always been something that I've struggled with in the past. Like, I was very set in my ways with my mindset of like, okay, yes, like I'm right. I'd be frustrated at certain situations, but then I just learned to let go and be open minded. And I found since doing that, life just becomes a bit more of a flow because you just go with it. I feel like if you just try to control every single aspect, then it can be quite difficult because everything doesn't go according to plan, and just being open minded and just flowing through life and just leading it with what makes you happy, I feel like is the best way to go about it, because then you're just focusing on what you can control, which is your internal state of happiness. And then everything else that happens, you can just acknowledge it. If it hurts you, that's okay. You're allowed to feel that, but it's what actions and what you do with yourself and how you react to that and how you decide to move forward. It can be very liberating knowing that you can move forward and really make the most of your life, because it's in your hands of how you react. You can't control the external, but you can control the internal, as I like to say.
I think everyone has that point where they realize that, or I hope everyone can have that point, because even me, look, I'm not going to go through life thinking, well, no one can ever or should ever upset me, or I don't like to think I've, but I'm sure at some point I've upset someone or I'm going to upset someone. And for that one, it'd be good if people, yeah, like you said, hopefully can confront that and say, look, what you did, this and that, let's have the conversation about it. But the reaction or the action of somebody upset me, I'm like, we're here for this one turnaround on this planet, so I'm going to choose to not let certain things get to me, because it will affect how I live the rest of my life or affect my mood for other things. So yeah, I think there's a definite look at what does matter to you. I think it's the, what are the key things to you, and make sure you're enjoying that. It's a fascinating outlook. And you mentioned COVID, and that you wrote this after COVID. Do you think that things have changed since COVID? And do you think that, as you said, that if we hadn't have gone through that lockdown, potentially you wouldn't, maybe your channel may not be the way it is now, or this book may have been different?
100%. Because for me, COVID really let me be present, because I found, especially in the beginning, I was at home and I was just sitting there like, well, now what? I can't go out and do all the things. I was at university at the time, so I couldn't just go and see my friends at university. I was just sat there and thinking, well, I need to make my time of this, as in, I need to figure out what I can do with my time to at least make it somewhat bearable. So I would go out in this countryside more when we went on our 1 hour walks, and I started crafting and I started figuring new things out about myself. I just let myself just do what I wanted to do and try things that maybe I thought, maybe for I wouldn't want to do that, but just try it. And it's interesting because I learned a lot about myself. So I did really random crafts. Like one time I went out and found some like willow and just decided to do willow weaving and made some baskets. I would have never thought to have done that, but I think because of COVID and just being stuck at home with that boredom, you kind of would just try anything. And I found it quite liberating because I thought, well, it just shows that there's a lot more to life than what you think about doing. You kind of have your preset hobbies of what you think and be like, oh yeah, I enjoy reading and enjoy watching this and I enjoy doing this. But really, just having that time to try everything was good, because then it made me feel more excited for life, because I knew there were more things I wanted to do. And I wanted to explore more. Obviously, with COVID, we couldn't do that, but I just found that having a time to really get to know me and what aligns with me and myself, I thought, okay, I really like trying new things. So when we could go out of lockdown, I wanted to explore more places and just experience life for what it was. And I used a lot of time to think like, okay, well, we're stuck at home, so I need to try and make every single moment as enjoyable as I could. So just doing the simple things to make me feel happy. And I realized like actually I'm really happy of how I'm living my life, which is strange because it's a very difficult and scary time of our lives. But for me, I found it quite liberating because I actually found what I truly enjoyed and what really aligns with me, which is kind of what I do on my YouTube channel anyway. So I found a passion for the countryside, which I heavily showcase on my channel. And it's something I've lived up my whole life. I've always been in the countryside and just being surrounded by it, but I always took it for granted because it's just always been there. It's what I've known. But really taking it all in and just rediscovering it, knowing like, okay, this is what I have around me, like this is what surrounds me, this is what where I live. Let's make the most of it and just do what I can to make me happy in this moment during this time. And it's something that I've just always carried with me.
You said something there that's really important. It's not taking things for granted, or we naturally do. Like we all do it, but and it's so funny because something you said resonated with me as well. So I lived, me and my wife, we lived in this town where we're at for about 8 years now. We would go out. We would, at weekends we would go do shopping. You'd work in a week, you'd go out, do your errands at the weekend. We'd go on holiday. We love walking, but it's more of a holiday thing. We go on holiday and go walking. Then COVID hit, and you couldn't go out, and it was your 1 hour a day exercise. And we found this wonderful walk pretty much just 5 minutes from our house that we hadn't seen before. Through fields, you'd see cattle. There was the stables with some horses. We didn't even know that was there. It'd been there for 8 years, but we'd not taken the opportunity to kind of just explore our surroundings. And that was just one of those things that if that hadn't have happened, or we weren't forced to do that, we would never have seen that, and we wouldn't have had those walks through that nice countryside. And it's amazing what you can miss that's right under your nose, isn't it?
100%. Funny enough, I've had a similar situation to where I live. It was actually quite recent. I thought, oh, there's a path down this way. Let's just take it. And I found out that it took us to like this World War II bridge,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was used for it. I'm trying to remember and get the correct details, but it's something to do. It was temporarily built because it was between like farm fields where like there's war and having to transport like tanks or the vehicles. So that bridge was there, made just for that. And I just thought, wow, that's some interesting history. I would have never have stumbled, but just taking a random path. It was fascinating.
Take a look around. Yeah, take a look around. And before we move on, so your book is on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the show notes. Is there anything else in the pipeline in the future?
I'm trying to think what my next step is because in my head I'm thinking, oh yes, like more books and everything. So, yes, I think there will be more books. I think it's going to be one more for in a more spiritual realm about manifestation, as that's like another whole aspect of my life, and talk about that. So, yeah, I think that's what will be coming up. A more longer future, not like anytime soon, but that's the plan at least.
Keep your eyes peeled. So yeah, do check Honor's socials and channels out. So yeah, Honor Lewis, or sorry, Honor's Diary _diary on Twitter or X, Honor's Diary on YouTube. And yeah, you're on Instagram as well, aren't you?
Yep.
And Amazon, How to Romanticize Your Life, the ultimate guide to living your desired reality. And as I said, I think your YouTube channel is very relaxing. So yeah, I recommend a watch of that.
Oh, thank you.
Right, we're going to move on to the main piece of this episode now. So the dinner party, as I mentioned to you on Twitter, actually, I love this because I love getting ideas for food. I love hearing about food. So this is always fascinating to see what people come with, and the choice of guests. So you are hosting your perfect dinner party.
Yep.
I'm guest number one. I've already come through the door.
Mhm.
I'm relaxing. You're going to present up one course, so starter, main, and dessert. You're going to explain why you've chosen that, and then you'll also introduce a guest and why you've chosen that guest. So let's start with the starter.
Okay, so I'm afraid I've gone a bit basic for starters. That's just because I don't really have them. So I usually have something quite small, and I thought I'd do prawn cocktails, just like
Nice.
prawns for cocktail. It's just good. It's a good staple. Like if I had to choose, that would be the one. So yeah, that's my choice.
It's a classic starter. It's a classic starter. Like I said, it can be quite visually appealing. It's not too filling either. It's depending on
Exactly.
what's coming next.
I'm just hoping my guests don't have like a seafood allergy, otherwise that'd be awkward.
Well, for the purpose of this, they don't. It's fine. Okay, so who is coming through the door?
So, first guest is Jim Carrey. I think it would be a blast, honestly. I love his humor, but also he seems like such an interesting person. So I remember watching interviews and he was always talking about manifestation, which I was sort of talking about earlier, but also just like him achieving his goals and also the reasons behind his humor is quite an interesting story. And I think also it'll just be great fun just seeing him and just like he'll be coming up with great jokes. He'll probably do something silly, and I think overall it'll be a really good time.
That's an interesting choice, isn't it? Because I remember when he first came onto the screens, at least over in this country, it was quite manic. It was, it's all those quite over the top films. It was like Ace Ventura, The Mask. But then over his career, he kind of the roles he did as well sort of changed a bit. And I mean, what is it, The Truman Show, for
Hmm.
example? I think that's a great film and a departure. But it's now he's gone completely the other way. He's gone back to like kind of Sonic the
Oh, I
Hedgehog.
love Sonic. So good.
It's an interesting career, isn't it?
It is definitely. And I just thought it'd be really interesting to have him in a room and just talk about it.
He is one of those people that will definitely have stories, and you're absolutely a story person as well. And there are certain people you think, oh, yep, they're very famous, been in a lot of films, but I wonder what they'd have to talk about. But yeah, he'd definitely have something in him, wouldn't he?
Oh, 100%.
So, what are we having for main?
So I technically have two because originally I had an idea until I had my food for dinner tonight and I was like, oh, wait, actually, this is perfect. So originally I was just going to do a classic roast dinner because they're my favorite. They're great. You can't go wrong, like a carvery or something. But I've decided to go for this recipe that I actually cooked today. So it's this cornflake honey barbecue chicken. And basically, it's just chicken. You just cover it in cornflakes and you add barbecue and honey sauce and cook that. And it's so good. It's like tender and it's just chef's kiss. Like, definitely one of my favorite things to eat. Yeah, it's so good, honestly. So I think I'd serve that because I think when you hear like cereal as like food, as in like with chicken or something, you kind of think, oh, okay. But honestly, it works so nice as like a really nice crunch, which you can get them with breadcrumbs, but cornflakes just is peak. So
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So I would recommend anyone to try that.
See, now there's nothing wrong with a roast dinner as well, and I love a roast dinner. But yeah, no, that sounds lovely. And something I should have asked probably at the start. Do you enjoy cooking? Do you cook a lot? Is it something you enjoy?
I love it.
Oh,
I
really?
absolutely love cooking for people. I think it's just a really good way for someone to get to know you
Mm.
because you can create something with love of something that you really enjoy and share it with others. And I absolutely love it when people are like, oh my gosh, Honor, that tastes delicious. So I love cooking for others, even food that I don't even eat. I'll cook it for people and just to see the smiles on their faces. And I love experimenting with flavors. So yeah, definitely something I enjoy.
Well, I was going to ask actually, are you someone that likes to experiment and try things that you've never had before?
So my favorite thing to do, weirdly enough, is when you're running out of everything. So you just got to make something up and just throw things together and just hope for the best that it works. And actually, some of my famous concoctions has come from that. So I've made really strange curries with just whatever I could find, and my brother would just be like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!" And then I can never recreate it because I can't remember exactly what spices I used and what's what. So sometimes just one and done food, and just yeah, just see what happens. Really.
You see, that's the thing. I remember when me and my wife were first together, you're following recipes and you're saying, right, it's got to be this of that, and we'd just say, ask her mum, and we'd say, how'd you make that, and say, oh, it's a bit of, you put a bit of seasoning, a bit of flour, how much, just a bit, and it's all by eye or like you said, by feel rather than sort of a prescribed recipe, and it's just fascinating the approach that different people can have to it. Yeah, that's kind of why I love food. And as you said, I think it's very telling of it, or it can be very insightful to the inner workings of a person, can't it?
Oh, I agree. I find it very interesting because you can get cultures from food. You can really get to know a person of what they enjoy and all different flavors and even their cooking methods as well. I find it quite fascinating to see how others cook, and you can learn some really interesting tips and tricks through doing that.
So you adventurous with food?
Sometimes. I mean, when I know I like something, I like to stick to that something.
Yeah.
And I do get a bit nervous trying new food sometimes because I create a preconceived image in my head of what I'm going to be like when eating it. And sometimes it can be a bit of a letdown when it's not as good, but then it's amazing when it's a lot, like it's amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot better than I thought it would be. So I think that's why I like to stick to food that I know I'll love. But every now and then I'll branch off and try something new, and a lot of the time I pleasantly surprise myself.
Okay, yes. As I said, I should have asked you that at the start. But okay, so we're having your cornflake. What was it? Cornflake and honey
Barbecue
chi-
chicken.
barbecue chicken. That's it. Who's coming through the door now?
Charlie Chaplin.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a theme here,
Hmm.
comedy, but a different type of slapstick. So Charlie Chaplin is an actor that I've been fascinated ever since I was a child, really. I've just always loved watching his movies. So my favorite one is The Dictator. He's just there's just something so charming about his comedy and just watching slapstick in general, especially for the 1930s, 40s, even 20s. And yeah, I've just always been drawn to him, and I think he'll be one that I would just love to have at the dinner table and just be really fascinated and just get to know his story.
See, I didn't think he was. This sounds bad. When I say he's not a thing anymore, I don't mean that. But I remember when I was a kid, it was on that they would show him a lot on TV and talk about him a lot. But I thought it was he was one of those people that's just kind of been left in the past. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting for you to have picked him.
No, I agree with you. I do think he has been left in the past, and actually, you can watch all of his films on YouTube for free now. You don't even have to stream them. But none of his films are on streaming services. And it's interesting because I think maybe kids these days wouldn't enjoy it because it is so different compared to what we get now. But I think there is just a charm to just watching an old film from the 20s and just see a bit of light-hearted comedy, and I think that's just always the type of comedy that I like, and I think that's also why I picked Jim Carrey because he's very physical, a bit slapsticky. So there are similarities between the two.
Mm, mm. Yeah, and yeah, people with slapstick, you either love it or hate it. I love it, and as you said, they're both very expressive, and more so, I think, with Charlie Chaplin in a time where it was silent movies as well. So to convey emotion and to convey humor is even more of a challenge. Then, yeah, I think it's a fascinating combination of people there.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I know some people that'll say, "Is it like before the year 2000? I won't watch it. Is it black and white? I won't watch it." And I'm like, well, you're really cutting yourself off from a lot of history and a lot of good
Yes,
art there, aren't you?
I know. So my boyfriend, he's always been a bit like, black and white movies, silent movies, I'm not sure." He's just he knows what he likes. He likes Star Wars, he likes Marvel, all of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I love old films. So I was just like, "Okay, let's watch Sunset Boulevard." And he was a bit like, "Oh, how old is it?" And I said, "I think it's 40s." I can't even remember now. But I told him, and he was like, "Oh." And I said, "No, watch this with an open mind. It's different, and I can guarantee you'll enjoy it." And yeah, we sat through it. And afterwards, he was just like, "Wow, this was really good." I definitely judged it and just kind of had an expectation that because it's old, it's not good.
Mm.
And since then, we've watched a lot of older movies, and he's been pleasantly surprised. So it's quite nice introducing someone to that and actually opening their minds and being like, actually, there's a lot of art pieces from the past.
It's funny, it goes back to something you said earlier as well. It's about the preconception that you can build up of something and you just think, I'm not going to like it. I remember, on the subject of food as a kid, prawns, funnily enough, putting out prawn cocktail. When I was a kid, I convinced myself I didn't like prawns. So my
Hmm.
family, my mum would do that on a Sunday. I wouldn't eat it. No, I don't like it. And then one at one point, she goes, "Look, just try one, just try one." I tried it and realized I absolutely loved them, and we would have it all the time. And long story short, I guess, yeah, you can build something up or say you don't like something, but as you said, it's about challenging that. And
Mm,
he might not have liked that film, and that's fair enough. But as long as
yeah,
you've had a go at it, right? That's got to be
exactly.
the thing. Yeah.
100%.
All right. Interesting so far. Interesting. So, what are we having? Oh, and I always ask, are you a dessert person then? I think you said you don't particularly have starters, but are you a dessert person?
I'm a dessert person,
Oh, really?
yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, you see, no, I'd usually be, I'll have a couple of starters if I could, but okay. So, tell you what, let's have your choice. What's your choice here?
Profiteroles.
Nice
Oh,
choice, to be
so
fair.
good. They're so good. I remember having them, well, I had them quite a lot this Christmas, and I was just thinking, I can't get enough of these. They're just so good. So it just made sense in my head to go for those. Any excuse to have them.
Is that if you went out, is that what you would choose as well if it was on the menu?
Well, if they had them, yes, but so my mother-in-law, she would just buy boxes of profiteroles and just put them in the freezer. So when I'm round, I'm like, okay, yes, please, I'm gonna have some of those. So I'm usually quite stocked with those all the time.
There's something quite appealing about them, aren't they? Because they're almost portion size. Well, they are portion size, so it's not that you've been served a slab of chocolate cake.
Yeah,
You feel you can pick at them, and the combination of the pastry, the chocolate, and the cream is just something else, isn't it?
I know. Like, well, they're pretty much the same as eclairs, but eclairs
I
can be
was going
quite
to
long,
ask
and
if
you
you
have
like
them, you're
those.
just
Yeah.
like, ugh. It's
Yeah.
quite a bit too much, but profiteroles, you can just choose and have what you're feeling. Like sometimes after eating a main meal, you can't be bothered to eat pudding. It's just you're too full. But like maybe you want that little sweet treat. So sometimes the profiteroles who just it just makes it perfect.
It's funny you say that, yeah, because I was thinking exactly the same. Because in eclair, you see it and you think, right, I've got to work my way through that. Whereas
Hmm.
probably have a bowl of profit rolls, but you might say, "Oh, just give me a couple." Then you'll probably have a couple more.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I keep going, honestly.
Yeah. So on their own, would you have some ice cream with it, or just smother them in chocolate?
I think on their own with the chocolate, with the cream inside, I think that's just enough. Like I think don't change what's already really good.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And the other thing actually on profit rolls is I'm a huge fan of the Bake Off, the British Bake Off.
Yes, I love it.
Every year I have to watch it. It's one of the programs that me and my wife will absolutely both sit down together and watch.
Hmm.
And they're normally always doing an episode where with profiteroles, aren't they? So
Yep.
it's just great. And I've forgotten what they call it, but the tower of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
I could
difficult
go.
to make. I haven't
Yeah.
tried it, but I'm feel very a bit like, ooh, I don't
Well, there
know.
you go. I'll expect to see it on Instagram soon.
Yeah, I'll give it a go one day. I'll do a vlog about it and just see how much of a disaster that goes.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, if you went to a restaurant and they didn't have those, what would your next dessert of choice be?
I think, to be honest, it would just be like a chocolate tart. I know
Okay.
I'm going to enjoy that. I probably wouldn't finish it, but it is good. It's chocolate. I think I just crave chocolate after eating something, like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
main meal. Just having a bit of sweet chocolateness, just like, yes,
yeah.
perfect.
Okay, excellent. So, who's the third and final guest to walk through the door?
Okay, so I'm going to be bringing a lot of chaos now. I'm bringing a caveman.
Oh wow, okay.
Now, I have like a logic in my head. I thought for a dinner party, sometimes they can just get a bit like, you chat. But I thought I want to make something different. So I thought, okay,
Mm,
a caveman, because he's never going to have any of these foods. But then you have two very physical comedy actors. So, Jim Carrey is definitely going to be doing something funny with that. And maybe even Charlie Chaplin. I think it'll be such a funny dynamic to just watch. And I think it'd be quite funny, but like, hey, try this food and see a caveman eat really different foods rather than like raw meat or berries or something. So yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
I mean, he's gonna love the prawn cocktail and the profiteroles, right? That's gonna.
I know. Exactly. I just thought I was trying so hard to think of an actor and I just thought it doesn't need to be like a famous person, just bring someone from the past and just give them a really unique experience. So there we
Well,
go.
it's definitely unique. We've not had caveman on this episode before, so
No.
well, and you've kind of said it there. A question I normally ask is, do you think your guests will get on?
Oh, it is gonna be a good laugh. I just know it. Like, that's what I was thinking. Like, when I had this, I was like, "Okay, who's gonna get along? What are we going to do? What the conversation's gonna be like about?" So, I was, like, properly thinking about this, and I thought Jim Carrey would like something unpredictable, and I think he would appreciate that. He will find that funny, and I think he'd make a lot of jokes and probably maybe even take the mick out a little bit, but it would just be all good, light-hearted fun.
It'll be interesting, won't it? So you've got so Charlie Chaplin, who was the star of many a silent film, but obviously you'd be talking to him and getting the stories, and a caveman who would be silent, possibly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But also Charlie Chaplin, he was very slapstick comedy and he was very silly as well.
Mm.
So I think seeing the dynamic of that, like, it would be very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking that as I was going along. Definitely, the first two guests would absolutely get on, and then I was waiting to see who your third one was. And do you know what? But yeah, I'm definitely glad I'm a guest at this party because I think that'd be a fascinating thing
I
to
know.
see. And yeah,
So
it's a winning menu for me. So
yeah.
absolutely, I think that's great. So there's a few more questions. So
Mhm.
you've got you're serving your first course. You've got your guests around the table. What music are you playing through the meal? Now it can be a band, it could be an album, it could be whatever you want. But yeah, what are we listening to?
Frank Sinatra. I
Nice.
think that jazz sort of vibe with a caveman would be so funny. But I don't know why, it makes me I was thinking about this earlier and I just thought, in a way, it kind of sounds a bit psychopathic. Like chaos happening, there's just jazz music playing in the background. Like maybe there's something a bit uneasy about it, but yeah, I just thought I'm just gonna go with that. I think I love Frank Sinatra. I love listening to his music. It's something I always have in the background. So yeah, that's what I went for.
Okay, so do you like sort of well, it's not the classical stuff, but again, like your films, do you like the old music?
Yeah, so I like a bit of everything when it comes to music, and I definitely go through weird not weird phases, but just like I have phases where like, okay, I'm obsessed with this and this is what I'm listening to. So currently that's George Michael at the moment. I listen to Frank Sinatra a lot. I listen to a lot of 60s music, 50s, but then I listen to a bit of maybe 80s, 70s rock, a bit psychedelic. And then sometimes I listen to like modern like Sabrina Carpenter and like house music. So I've got all the flavors, honestly.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that's really good. No, I do like Frank Sinatra, so I'll be tapping my toe under the table. So we've had the dinner, we've listened to a bit of Frank. We're sitting around afterwards, and you're going to put a film on for us. You're going to put a film that says to your guests, "This is if you want to get to know me a little bit, sit down and watch this with me." What film are we watching?
So this was a really interesting one because I was just thinking, what would describe me? And I'm thinking Breakfast at Tiffany's. So Holly Golightly, she's a very interesting and complex character because she technically runs away from her old life and creates something for herself and really enjoys the finer things in life. But there's that innocence to her where it's very interesting to look at. And she kind of looks like she has everything all together. Like, she likes all her fine jewelry and diamonds. And actually, deep down, there's just this soft girl who you just kind of look at and you think, yeah, this is sort of like me. Like on my social medias, I might put out a big, not big, but like, you see a personality that looks sort of a bit glamorous and everything, but actually at heart, I'm just a bit soft and just like, yeah, I just kind of resonate with that.
And it's interesting because I think I saw it might be on your YouTube channel description, but I think you've got an Audrey Hepburn quote, I think, on there as well,
I
haven't you?
did, yes. I
Oh,
did
you
actually
did.
remove that a couple days ago because I thought I need to update that, but like the description. But yes, I did have an Audrey Hepburn quote, and I
Yeah.
do love her. So I just thought if I had to choose like a celebrity that I would look up to and really admire,
Mm,
she is that person. And also, it's a 60s film, it's
mm,
vintage, and it's just what I really enjoy as well. So it just kind of seemed fitting for me to choose that one.
excellent. And the random question of it all. So, is there anywhere in the world you would like to go to have a meal? Now, it could be a country itself and a meal, or it could be you've seen a restaurant or somewhere where it would serve the perfect meal for you. So, yeah, where would you go?
I would love to go to Italy, but I would want to go to just an old lady's house and just have a home cooked meal. Because they're the sort of people that have, like, recipes that have handed down from generations, and you just know whatever they cook, like, probably pasta, it will probably be the best pasta you've tasted in your entire life, and it's better than any restaurant. So I think that would be really nice to try.
So my family's Italian, so I can absolutely vouch for that. So when you
Mhm,
go to people's house, yeah, there is something about sort of homemade food, isn't there? And
mhm.
food that's been passed down and like I said, kind of made with love and yeah, and just care, isn't it? There's just something about it. It doesn't matter what it is, but okay. No, that's a really good answer. Again, I wasn't expecting that. So I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed that.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll talk after. I think there's another episode I think I'd like to have you back on. But before we
Mhm.
go, firstly, thank you again for coming on. Do you just want to shout out to people where they can find you and a little bit about your channel again?
So yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and X or Twitter, whatever you like to call it, at Honors Diary. And then of course I do have my book, How to Romanticize Your Life, which is on Amazon. So my YouTube channel is all about like coziness, and I like to showcase my life and just be real, like your best friend you watch on YouTube. But I do sprinkle in some like fashion videos and shopping vlogs. So I enjoy doing those anyway, and it's just like a part of my life. So yeah, I hope you could join and see what I have to showcase, I guess.
Yeah, and do go follow if you're not already. And I will put the links in the show notes to make it even easier to do so. For me, you're listening to me, so you know where to find me. But if you want to get in touch, you want to suggest a theme for an episode, or you want to come on and have a go at something like this, just search for Casting Views across all social platforms. I'll see you next week for another episode of Casting Views.
2, 3, 4. If I want your opinion, I will give it to you. Come on, take what we've got, 'cause you need it. Don't make us get a spark and push